Welcome back to the Who Am I podcast. I'm Dom. That's Brady.
I'm Brady.
That's Brady over
What's
there.
up, y'all? We're back. We didn't really leave. We just pressed stop and now we press play again.
Yeah, I feel like an hour and a half time commitment is a big one. And so just thinking about making them a little shorter, but not talking any less. Yeah.
So we kind of left off talking about, I guess I talked about the girl that broke up with me, but she was very honest.
Yeah. In today's world, there's kindness and there's gentleness. Those are very important fruits. But there's also the truth. And grace, obviously, too. But you were saying, you're talking about like ripping off the Band-Aid. I want to hear the truth. And I feel like in today's world, oftentimes grace and kindness and gentleness can be put above the truth and can compromise the truth. And I don't want that personally. And I don't think anyone actually does. What is best is the truth. And if you can deliver the truth with the utmost grace and kindness and gentleness, perfect. But don't let grace, kindness, gentleness outweigh the actual truth. And so I would rather a woman in 7th grade walk up to me and be like, she could have been more graceful. She could have said, hey, we're not going to be dating anymore. And that even would have been more graceful than, hey, I never liked you. But at least she didn't compromise the truth.
Yeah.
And so but the way that she said it could cause, if it was me, could cause me to go and sit in my own mind and be like, why did she never like me? Why would she have done this thing for me if she didn't actually like me at the time? And so I'm going to be like in my own head because of almost like some evil that she said, like some just mean. I never liked you. Just say we're not dating anymore. Say, hey, I'm going to break up with you right now. Don't have to point out all my character flaws or say that all of this was fake. Don't have to do anything like that. Like, just give me the truth. And now I'm at least not going to go back and sit and like dwell on it. Just be like, wow, that hurt, and it hurt for what it is. But I'm thankful that she was honest with me and it was true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And so I don't, in my own life today, I don't want the truth to be clouded. And one thing that I was going to say about you and your lady friend is you have brought so much clarity with every step, and clarity is kindness. And grace and kindness and gentleness, if relied on too heavily, can actually bring some confusion.
Right.
And I don't want it to do that. I want to present the truth with as much grace and kindness and gentleness as possible, but not to a point where now I don't even really know what's true. And I think I used to do that almost to a point where it's manipulative. And that's not, and then it cancels out. It was not graceful. It was not kind. It was not gentle at all. And it wasn't the truth at all. But yeah, I don't want to cloud the truth because I'm afraid of your response, if that makes sense.
Yeah. when do you think it's hardest for you to speak truth?
I think when I really care about someone, I think that's when it can be the hardest to speak truth. Because I can see things that maybe aren't the best for that person, or maybe that person's doing something, or maybe I'm not feeling the same way that this person is, whatever it is. But I really care about that person. And so that's when I will, and I've gotten so much better about it, but I can deliver with too much grace and too much kindness and too much gentleness because I care so deeply about that person. I don't want them to get hurt. But the truth in the long run will and would be best for that person. And so that's kind of the perspective that I need to have, that other people need to have with me as well, of just, it might temporarily might hurt, the Band-Aid coming off.
Right.
But in the long run, it's going to be so much more beneficial for you, for me, whatever it is. And so people that I really care about, I think it can be difficult because I know that there's going to be that initial pain of the truth.
That's good. I remember my mom had a situation where there was another parent who she was friends with, and that parent's child, I think, was struggling with drug use, and basically this was brought to my mom's attention, and she knew if she shared this with this child's mom, that it could be met with some, anger and frustration, and maybe they'd stop talking and things like that. And she did share that, and it was like almost out of, if this was my son, I would want to know if my son was really in trouble with drugs and try to get him help and whatnot. And I won't go into details what happened with their relationship, but it was kind of one of those things that she knew that was the right thing to speak that truth. Like, this is what's happening, whether you already know or not. I just wanted to let you know. And yeah, I think, but those are so much easier to just not say anything sometimes, and kind of let, I mean, in the end, whether we say things or not, like, let's say she had a conversation with the son and the son still doesn't want to get off drugs. Like, there's still so many, like, it's not in our control, but I do think when things get put on our heart, you do have to share those things. If you feel like God is putting this on your heart, to share it with someone. And just a quick story, but like, after the very first time I got coffee with my girlfriend, I said to her, it was really weird, but it was put on my heart to share with her that, like, look, I don't know if I want to date you, but I'm attracted to you, so that could be in the cards that we could date. And it was kind of to just say, like, there could be a romantic element here if spiritually we can align and connect. Physically, we got that down, at least on my side. And that's kind of what I was saying to her, because I do think, especially in dating and relationships, you don't marry someone for the physical, but it is a part of the process. And it can quickly, like, if you're not physically attracted at all to someone, I mean, if you still feel called to marry them. But I personally have felt like convicted to feel physically attracted to them too. But anyways, that's just a quick example. I didn't want to share that with her. I was like, this is weird. This is a weird thing to say or whatnot. But it was like from the get-go, like that was kind of how we started expressing things to each other. And yeah, we've had some deep, like serious conversations about like life things. And I think it helps to have those conversations when you just kind of rip off the Band-Aid and start with them.
And I feel like those conversations, at least for me, have become easier and easier the more that I've done them. The more that, like, we build up these moments in our minds.
That's good, yeah.
That, like, this person's going to be so angry. They're going to yell at me. Like, this is going to be the worst conversation ever. And then you do it. And then it's not as bad as what you built it up to be in your mind.
Never.
And yeah, the more that I have grown accustomed to it, I don't want to be a passive man. I feel like there's too many of those in the world today that would rather ignore something that is nagging at them. I was telling you even this week, I had, I'm not afraid to say it on here, I had rats in my apartment.
Let's go.
And yeah, how it was handled was not good by the apartment complex. Anyways, I was in the middle of my quiet time, and all that I could think about was I have had plenty of conversations with the manager of the property, but all I could think about was she hadn't responded to my email at that point, and I was like, I want to go and I want to tell her all of these things. I want to tell her all of these things that I've experienced, and so that she knows that, like, I have experienced all of these things. I don't want her to, like, think that it hasn't been as bad as it's been. And that was all that I could think about my whole quiet time. And I was like, I can tell this is frustrating me. I can tell that this is, like, this anger, truthfully, that I'm feeling, it is leading me towards an action, and that action is having this conversation with her. And so I stopped my quiet time and I went down to the leasing office, and I was just like, hey, here are all the things that have happened. Here's how I want the situation handled. And, like, once that conversation happened, I never thought about it. I thought about it again because the situation's still, to this day, not entirely resolved. But that frustration and that anger of not saying what is true wasn't eating at me. And I feel like too many people today will let that thing eat at them. And I am guilty of this, but will let that thing kind of fester inside of them. And then, for me, at least, it boils to a point, and then I'm the one who's overreacting, not the person that maybe I've felt something towards. But then it boils to a head, and it doesn't get authentically expressed. Let's say this one thing has been happening and it's annoyed me every single time that it happens. Let's use, you used to, like, kind of pet me on the head like a dog.
Sure.
Right? And so if that continues to happen, and every single time that it happens, I never say anything about it. But every single time that happens, I get more frustrated. Then there's going to be one point in time where you pet me on the head and
you just snap.
I snap on you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. And so there's one time you did it, and I was like, hey, I don't really like it when you do that. And never thought about that frustrating me ever again because I said one sentence, and
Right.
like too many people will go around that because like, I don't want to hurt you.
Right.
And so I don't want you to think that you're doing anything wrong. It's just like, I don't really like it when you do that. And so like having those conversations before they grow into this massive anger.
Right.
Yeah. Addressing a problem rather than going around it.
That's good. Go right through it. Yeah. And like we all have different preferences, different ways of walking through life, and things that can maybe one thing really upset you, one thing really upset me, maybe that same thing you're not really bothered by it. Like just kind of getting to know a person, and I think even understanding why that bothers you, I think that can lead to a beautiful place too.
Yeah. Understanding why is key to life. Key to life. One thing as we're talking about all of this truth telling, grace, gentleness, kindness thing. One thing that I have felt recently, and a big part of why we haven't sat behind these mics in a long time, is because see how to word this. My soul has been frustrated. Yeah, and still working through that. But one thing that I have realized is, like we were talking about in the last episode, I want to look at the world through that innocent lens, through the curious lens of every quirk that someone has was beautifully designed. And I don't want to look at it as a frustration or as something that gets under my skin because it's not how I would do it. And so with that being said, I have enough things to work on myself, and I don't want to focus on other people's more than I'm focused on my own. And it was kind of beautifully described to me in Ezekiel. I've been reading through Ezekiel lately, but God is essentially he's talking through Ezekiel to Jerusalem, saying that.
What chapter is this? I'm going to pull it up.
It's 16. I'm going to read it, so you don't really need to. God is speaking to Jerusalem through Ezekiel, saying that he's going to essentially wipe Jerusalem out. And in chapter 16, he says this. Chapter 16, verse 13, the latter half of it, and verse 14. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen, and your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 15. But you trusted in your beauty and used your fame to become a prostitute. And then later on in the chapter, verse 22. In all your detestable practices, in your prostitution, you did not remember the days of your youth, when you were naked and bare, kicking in your blood. And that's what I have been feeling lately it has nothing to do with anyone else. And so I don't want to sit here and point out flaws or what I view as flaws in other people, because I think that's exactly what Jerusalem was doing. They were like, we have God. God's on our side. So everything that I do is right. And let me point out all these other things that all these other people do. But the fact of the matter is, I have like boldly surrounded, I had given you, because the splendor I had given you made your beauty perfect. And so anything that makes me think that like I am great or I am awesome, that characteristic that I have, that way that I speak, that thing that I do that is awesome, had been given to me, has been given to me by God. God is the one who made my beauty perfect, not me. Has nothing to do with me. And then I point out the part, you do not remember the days of your youth when you were naked, bare, kicking about in your blood. I point that out because that I reflected on like when God found me and like how much I needed him and how much I knew that I needed him. That is the same today that it was when he found me. And I do not want to take that for granted. I do not want to take for granted that maybe the sins are different. Maybe my heart is different towards different things. And again, all of that beauty, all of that growth, all of the change in perception of the world around me is because God did that. Has nothing to do with me. And I feel like I don't want to be prideful and like sit on my high horse and be like, well, that person sucks at this and that person stinks at that and they could be better at this, when there is enough of that going on right here. Right here. And not saying I don't want to call my brothers and sisters higher, because I do. But it cannot take priority over my own shortcomings, my own flaws. And yeah, and so I've spent a lot of time having that perception, trying to shift my view of the world of like, this person does that thing and it frustrates me, and that person does this thing and that person's not glorifying God even though they say they are. I have enough of that going on in me that I don't, if I'm not going to walk up to that person and be like, hey, have you ever thought about doing this way? If I'm not going to do that, or if I'm not in a place to do that, if that opportunity hasn't presented itself, then why do I even need to comment on that? I have enough issue. I have enough shortcomings within myself. And I don't want to sit in shame. I don't want to sit in negative things, because Jesus' blood has washed over me. And that is how my beauty has become perfect. But I want to be aware of them. I still want to become more like Jesus. And so, yeah, I've been frustrated. And I think most of that frustration is actually at myself, because my perception of the world has shifted. I don't know if it's because I'm sitting here behind a microphone, because we have an amazing Bible study, because I'm friends with a lot of pastors. I have no idea. But it gives me no right to look down on anybody else. Anybody else. And yeah, and so I think the past month or so, I've really been frustrated at myself for having that view. And it's almost like the more frustrated I am, that's how I talk to myself. That's like I'm talking to myself with that frustration. And so that's how I'm going to talk to the world around me. Like, that's not how God speaks to me. And so shifting that perception of myself, I want to be much more humble than I have been. And I want to call other people higher, but myself, I have enough things that still need to grow, that still need to heal, that like I cannot emphasize your twig when I have a log. And I don't want to be like Jerusalem in this sense and be like, oh, I'm God's chosen people. I got Jesus. And so anything I do, like it's right and it's good, because that's just not true. And yeah, and so I feel like I've been frustrated at myself a lot the past month or so. And that's where I've been at. But yeah, Ezekiel has been a good book to read. Yeah, and there's so much talking about, because you didn't remember your youth. Like, God's going to take his wrath out on Jerusalem in this book because they forgot their youth. They forgot how much they needed God when he found them, when he chose them. And you still need him just as much now. And I don't want to forget that like how chaotic my life was, how much depression there was. Like, God brought me out of that. And like, just as quickly, I can return to that. And I need him just as much today as I did then. Yeah. So that's where I've been at. That's how my past month has been.
Just, that was a weird sound. I was thinking about this earlier, and I feel like this is a good time to say this. I'm very encouraged that you're here tonight and recording. And I know the last couple of weeks have been tough on you, and I'm proud of you for sharing that one with me. Not talk about unashamed expression, like you have through this process shared how you are frustrated, how you are angry, and how this isn't how you want to, I guess, express love to the world.
Yeah, interact with the world in general.
Yeah.
It's not how I want to view it, and it's not how I want to respond to it.
But like you're still here, and you're still behind a mic, and you're still talking, and you're still showing up for people. You showed up for our friend Erin today, helping her move. You've shown up for me in many ways this last month. I sent you a message recently, but it's like, even when you are struggling and going through something like this, and I've known you for a year now, so like I have somewhat of like a gauge of like where you're at, I guess, through just spending a lot of time with you. But like God still was using you this last month while you were frustrated and struggling. And he's using you definitely tonight in the words that are coming out of your mouth. So I'm just proud of you, and I love you.
Thanks, man. I love you too. And that's been one of the hard things for me, is like, I'm still gonna choose God, even if I don't feel the peace, even if I don't feel the love, even if I don't feel the joy. I'm still going to choose God because I do know the alternative, because I have chosen the alternative before. And so I'm still going to choose him. But it's been really hard to choose him, to wake up every morning, still journal, talk to him, read my Bible, and feel like it's not doing anything in the world. Like, I have people saying all these negative things about me, and God, I'm still here choosing you. And I want to, whoever says anything negative about me, I want to show them you.
Right.
Like your love, your kindness, your grace. Like, that's how I want to interact with them. And it's so hard. It's so hard when I don't feel it myself. If that makes sense. And so, like, how can I show that person love if I'm not receiving it right now? And that's how I know that I'm the one that's in the way. God's love he didn't like take it away from me. He's not moving. God doesn't move. It is me who is moving. And so it's just been hard. It's been hard to not see the impact that God has had through me. It's been hard to not see that lately. And I know it's because of me, and even because of my perception, because I think often I do, even when I am frustrated, still speak kindly and still speak life and encouragement. But I think a lot of it is just my view of, like, and there's even so much pride in that, of like, well, why are you speaking life into this person? Is it so that they can talk highly about me? Or is it so that, like, God can be glorified? Because that's the intention. That's what it should be. And so, yeah, it's just been a little frustrating to not to have people say negative things about me, to not feel like I'm making the positive impact on humanity that I know God has designed me to be capable of. That's been a little frustrating. But I'm still going to wake up and I'm still going to choose God. And thank you for seeing it. It's not easy. And I will wake up and I will do it again tomorrow. But yeah, it's been challenging, frustrating. Here we are.
Made me think about how the first part of this episode, we were talking all about unashamed expression, and how if we were to go back and live the lives we used to live away from God, personally, from everything I've learned and everything that I've seen God do in my life, I could not do it without feeling mountains of shame. Mountains of shame.
Yeah, I was actually talking to one of my friends about that yesterday. I recently hit 2 years without a sip of alcohol.
Which one's the clap? Come on.
No.
Do you know which one it is?
I don't.
Let's try.
No. I recently...
Okay. How do you stop it? Oh my god. It's still going. I don't know how to stop it. Oh boy. Is it gonna stop?
I recently...
Dude, what just happened?
Well, I told you. I recently hit 2 years sober and had a conversation with one of my friends that if I were to drink, I know the place that it would put me back into, the decisions that I would make, the chaos that I would have in my life. Yeah, and I don't want to choose that.
Yeah, we celebrated Dom's 2 year in Boston. We had some non-alcoholic. I was thinking of athletic brewing. It was non-alcoholic Sam Adams, I think. It was really good. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
Do you want to go, Maybear?
No.
I don't know why they're all yellows left.
Must not like the other ones.
Mm.
And I think that's going to do it for part 2 today. Thank you guys for listening. This was so much fun. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening to Brady. We appreciate you guys. We're thankful for all of you.
Can I pray us out?
Please.
God, thank you for tonight. Thank you for giving both of us the courage to meet and talk about you. We know that there are people listening, but most importantly, we know you're listening, that you're always here. I pray that I don't enter your presence or talk about you lightly. I've experienced a lot of joy lately, but I know life is not just joy, and I know that there are people who are not feeling joy, and I pray that those people can be comforted tonight or whenever they listen to this, that they can listen to the words and feel encouraged by what you've put on Dom and I's heart tonight. You are our hope, God. There is no hope without you. You give us opportunity to be shameless, to live in power, to live in peace and joy and love. And when we don't feel those things, we can still love you. And Dom is living proof of that right now. I pray that someone can be encouraged by the way Dom is moving and walking in his life right now. I pray that any logs that I or Dom have in our eye, or anyone listening, God, that we can go to you and deal with that personally, and then go out in the world and try to remove the logs from someone else's eye, but first look at our own eye, because we're always going to have something in our eye. God, thank you for our salvation. Thank you for your Son, Jesus, who came down and suffered when he didn't have to. He had all the power in the world, but he chose to follow you, God. He chose to love you for our sake. And because of that, we have eternal life. I pray that that can constantly be on our minds and hearts, that we know that we are going to heaven, not because anything that Dom and I or anyone who believes in Jesus that's listening to this, it's nothing that we've done in our life, but it's everything that Jesus has done for us. I just pray that I can be more conscious of that, and others listening can too. We love you, God. Thank you for this night. Thank you for this podcast. And yeah, we love you. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. We're out.